Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out here for you. I want to bring you an update regarding what's going on in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine. We've got lots of information to go over here. This Russian offensive began a few days ago and it's starting to intensify as of today. But before we get right into that, I just want to let all of you know that I put out a community post this morning to inform everyone that I'm going to be out of town starting tomorrow. Tomorrow's actually my birthday, May 15th. I'm going to be out of town on vacation for about 4 days. I'll be back on Sunday on May 19th. And then as of May 20th, we will be back to normal operations. I will be putting out some updates while I'm on vacation throughout the next few days, but it will be done through a laptop, which you know how that's going to be. The quality may be a little bit different than what we're seeing right now, as I'm currently in the Boyd News studio, okay? So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll keep you all updated as time goes on, so appreciate you being here. Let's get right into the news. So let's talk about this. So the Kharkiv region is still under heavy attack. Multiple regions under lots of heavy Russian shelling. The Ukrainians are holding for the most part from what I'm seeing. They're afraid that there's going to be another front opening up in the Sumy region and possibly the Chernihiv region that I've been talking about as well. There are regions that are just to the northwest of Kharkiv. Okay, so right now most of the fighting is going on in the Kharkiv region. The people in the city of Kharkiv came under attack as well from Russian bombings. I believe it was just last night. Multiple glide bombs had hit the city. We'll be showing you there was like an apartment building that got struck as well. We've got like 17 people that were wounded, maybe even some that were killed, and some of them were even women and children. So very terrible news to hear about that. And the town of Vovchansk is close to being surrounded. There's lots of video footage out online, pictures and everything showing Vovchansk like up in smoke. So I've been talking a lot about that city lately too. It's actually more of a town or a village, but it's a good-sized village, probably about 17,000 people that live there. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from multiple villages around the front line. Okay, they have been pulled away and taken to Kharkiv or other regions in the area to get away from the fighting. Many people were just barely leaving just in time while the Russian shellings were going on. So Russia's definitely intensifying their attacks right now. We've got tons of things to discuss, so we're going to go over this one by one. I have some reports to go over here with some news media articles, and then we'll also have some expos. I'll have a couple videos for you guys. We'll talk about an update from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president. So let's get right into this, okay? So I'm going to talk about this first. This is on the Kiev Post. It says, senior Ukraine commander sacked in wake of big Russian advance in the Kharkiv region. So this wasn't widely talked about. I kind of had to dig for this to find this. But apparently the Ukrainian commander that was in charge of the Kharkiv region was basically sacked. He was taken out of his position, his role, because of the failure of holding that area. And I was hearing that apparently the defenses around Kharkiv and the Kharkiv region that's being currently invaded right now, the defenses were apparently terrible. They were not set up very well. The fortified defenses were just complete trash, basically. They were not good. And that allowed Russia to just basically roll right in. So Zelensky was very upset by that and immediately took him out of his role. Okay, so it says here, Kiev says it's throwing thousands of veteran reserve troops led by a top general into battle in a bid to contain the most successful Russian land grab since the early days of the war. So real quick about that, yes, Ukraine is throwing everything they got at this region right now. And I saw reports as well, we'll go over that too, talking about the fact that they're out of reserve troops to send to Kharkiv. So whatever they've got over there, that's all they have. Okay, so definitely Ukraine is stretched very thin right now compared to Russia. Russia's just they're throwing tens of thousands of troops at a time. And it seems like they just got more and more and more troops just on the back end that they're able to just funnel them in and send them to the front line. And Ukraine doesn't really have that, okay? They are running out of troops completely, and we're seeing nothing but reports stating that they're stretched thin. So they're still waiting for lots of weaponry to come in as well, which they're not getting right now. So that's him right there. This is the guy that was sacked, Brigadier General Yuri Halushkin. He was the commander of the Joint Forces of Kharkiv, okay? So he is now gone. So just real quick, it says right here, a top Ukrainian general responsible for defense is swamped by a surprise Russian offensive into the northeastern Kharkiv region was sacked on Monday as senior Kiev officials vowed masses of men and weapons were deploying to contain the Kremlin's success. Brigadier General Yuri Halushkin, commander of the Joint Forces of Kharkiv, the top headquarters for Ukrainian troops deployed opposite Russia's Belgorod Oblast, was relieved of duties some 72 hours after Kremlin forces pushed across the border to grab at least 5 villages and break into the regional town of Vovchansk. So because Russia was just able to roll right in, basically, is what happened. This happened in a span of 2 to 3 days, okay? And I put that there on the main waiting screen and the information on the bottom there for you. That, yeah, just in 2 days, basically, they were able to roll right in and take over something like 7 to 9 villages, maybe more. But we know for sure at least 7 villages have been taken. And Vovchansk is up next, okay? Excuse me. So that town has been under heavy shelling from the Russians, and I've been talking about that tons. Vovchansk has been mostly evacuated. I think there's a few thousand people that might still be there, but majority of the people have already left. And that town is at risk of being taken. And I think the Russians want to take that first before they go to Kharkiv. But yeah, I've been talking a lot about that town, and it's definitely close to being taken here very soon. So I also want to talk about this just real quick. We'll discuss a little bit more information from here. This is from AP. Russian assault opens new front, diverting Ukraine forces as Western aid trickles in. So we'll be talking more about the aid, the Western aid that's coming into the country. I'll do another video on that later. But just some quick news. Anthony Blinken visited Ukraine just in the last 24 hours unannounced to let them know that the support for Ukraine is unwavering. Okay, they're not going to stop supporting Ukraine. They're going to keep bringing in supplies for them, and they're trying to rush them over here as quick as they can. So that's why they're saying it trickles in. So it says here, Russian troops were locked in intense battles with Ukrainian soldiers around the embattled town of Vovchansk in northeast Ukraine on Monday, pushing ahead with a ground offensive that opened a new front and put more pressure on overstretched Ukrainian forces. So see, overstretched. So they're short on men right now. Okay, Moscow's renewed northeast offensive, launched late last week, was the most significant border incursion since the full-scale invasion began. In just 2 days, Moscow's captured from 100 to 125 square kilometers, which is 38 to 47 square miles that include at least 7 villages, most of them already depopulated, according to 2 open-source monitoring analysts. So it says right here, Russia breaks through Ukraine's northeast region. Russia's captured at least 7 villages in northeastern Ukraine's Kharkiv region since launching a major assault there last Friday. Russia wants to stretch Kiev's depleted forces and stop Ukraine firing rockets from Kharkiv across the nearby border into Russia, which they have been doing that. There was some attacks that I just reported in Belgorod the other day. There was like an apartment building that got destroyed. A middle section of it completely collapsed. Supposedly it was hit by a Ukrainian missile, but there was some talks about it could have been a Russian glide bomb that somehow they missed and somehow dropped it in Belgorod. That's been happening a lot lately from the Russians. So we don't really know who caused the attack, but there has been lots of missile attacks in Belgorod recently. So I wanted to show you this map here real quick, just to kind of show you where the fighting is taking place. So it's really starting to spread. Okay, this red was a lot smaller just the other day, and the Russians are starting to push forward more. So here's Vovchansk right here. So they're starting to get pretty close. You know, they might be a few kilometers away from getting to Vovchansk, and this is where most of the fighting is at. Here's Kharkiv down here, and there's 2 major fronts. And along these towns here, there's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 towns just right here. This is one front line here. There's some smaller fronts here, and then over here by Vovchansk. So the Russians are pushing in this area the most right now. We haven't seen an open front in the Sumy region or the Chernihiv region, which is more this direction up here to the left. But right now, this is where the majority of the fighting is. So that's why I wanted to show you this map, so you can kind of get a picture in your mind of how far the Russians have been able to, excuse me. And this gray line right here represents the border between Ukraine and Russia, if you were wondering what that is. So this is how far, all this red is how much the Russians have come in tens of kilometers inward, getting closer to Kharkiv, okay? And Kharkiv is really not that far. It's only tens of kilometers away from, not even 100 kilometers, I believe, from the border of Russia, okay? So we'll have to see how the Russians are able to push forward here, but so far, their advances have been working, but we're hearing also on the back end from Ukraine that they are somehow finding a way to stabilize this in the near term. Hopefully in the next week or so, they'll be able to stabilize the front and keep the Russians back. I don't know if they'll be able to push them back over the border, but at least be able to stabilize the front line. That's what we're hearing. So I want to go over a couple more things here real quick. Let me get this set up here for you. And we're going to be doing some reports on X that we'll be going over here. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these here. This one's from Anton Girenko. This is what Russia did to my native Kharkiv today. Just a casual Tuesday for them, loss and devastation for us. These shattered ruins were once people's home. There was laughter, joy, and life, all gone now. So Anton Girenko apparently used to live here. I've reported many of his posts here on X. Major supporter of Ukraine, because clearly he said this is his native home is Kharkiv. So here's a piece of that. This apartment building I was talking about. There's several pictures online, but this thing got hit directly with, I believe, a Russian glide bomb. Okay, these glide bombs are very powerful. They've got like 500 pounds, I think 1,500 pounds, and 3,000-pound glide bombs. They've got multiple ones. This might have been a smaller glide bomb that was used here, but there's video footage of people standing inside over here, and they're recording the the rubble that's inside these units here when this thing got hit. So it got a direct hit. And again, like 17 people were supposedly wounded as far as we know. Maybe even some people that were unfortunately killed because it was a direct hit on this apartment building. So next one, the Ukrainian review. Fortifications of the second line of defense in the Kharkiv region. The defense is located at a safer distance from the border with Russia, which made it possible to build it with the involvement of heavy equipment. So what they're starting to do now is build defenses behind the front line where it's currently at, where I showed you on that map where all that red was. They're starting to create more fortifications and another front line behind the current front line right now. So that way, if the Russians start to break through there, they'll have another line of defense ready to go. So they're starting to build trenches and things like that. So this video is going to be showing us that. So let's go ahead and take a look. 30 seconds.
Ми знаходимося зараз на будівництві взводного опорного пункту. Тут фактично всі види фортифікаційних споруд, які тут є. Що стосується метражу ось таких фактично проходів 1000 метрів. Фактично, якщо кількість брати таких взводних опорних пунктів, то це так само сотні. Це все розраховували наші військові, це стратегічні наші напрямки. Це фактично вздовж всієї лінії кордону із Російською Федерацією, і це фактично лінія оборони. Це те, що дозволяє нам робити саме цивільними силами, цивільними, тобто підприємствами. Ми знаходимося зараз на
So my apologies, not in English, obviously. It's in their native language over there. But as you can see here in this video, they are building up defenses, preparing for a massive war over here, okay? This is a brand new front that's being opened with tens of thousands of troops from Russia trying to take Kharkiv, okay? That's their next objective, is they want to take Kharkiv. And I've also been hearing reports, we'll go over that in a little bit as well, that they supposedly want to take Odessa also, okay? They want to take Odessa and Kharkiv and kind of force Ukraine into a difficult position where they may have to start accepting some sort of peace deals. I think that's what Russia's trying to do right now, because I don't think they realize they can take, the entirety of Ukraine, but they also want to create this buffer zone that's been talked about a lot, where they want to be able to push Ukraine back away from the border, so that way they can't launch strikes inside of their territory, which is not completely true, because we've seen Ukraine using drones that can go 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 kilometers into Russia using their drone attacks. So yeah, that's the latest here with this fortification. So they're getting ready for something big here, okay? They wouldn't be building these fortifications if they weren't expecting Russia to advance further. And that's why they're starting to build these behind the current front line right now. So next up, from OZNT Globe, head of Ukraine's military intelligence agency has said that the situation in the Kharkiv region is moving towards stabilization, but that Russia may send in more reserves in the coming days. so head of Ukraine's military intelligence agency, that they may stabilize. Okay, we'll have to see how they do. But their major problem right now is their lack of equipment. Okay, they don't have a lot of missiles or anything like that right now. Artillery, I think artillery is still in short supply, as it has been for multiple months. It's taken time for all of this stuff to get to the front line, even though just a month ago the aid bill for Ukraine from the United States was passed at $61 billion. It's still taking a while. It's probably going to take several more weeks, maybe another month or two, for a majority of these supplies to get to the front line. So in the meantime, they're trying to do whatever they can, throw as many bodies to the front line and stabilize this front and prevent Russia from taking over the Kharkiv region, because it's very important to Ukraine. So next up, take a look at this. This is from War Intel. Kadyrov, this month we need to take the nearest territory, definitely Odessa and Kharkiv, then force Zelensky to sign the necessary papers. So I saw a video as well of Kadyrov. This is him right here. And he's a major ally to Putin. He's from Chechnya. And he was coming out and saying on a report that he was basically saying what he's saying right here, that the Russian forces needed to take Odessa and Kharkiv in the next month. Okay, this month, it says right here, this month. So that's why we're seeing such an intensified attack from the Russians, and they're saying we need to do this now before Ukraine gets all this weaponry from the West. This is their chance to seize this opportunity. I'm surprised they didn't do this a long time ago, even like 2 months ago, because Ukraine was even in a worse position than they are right now, because they're actually starting to get supplies again. So, yeah, apparently that's their objective right now. Take Kharkiv and take Odessa. Odessa's more in the south. I think it's like the southwestern portion of Ukraine. They want to basically completely surround the middle portion of Ukraine by taking all the outskirts that border, Crimea, and then all the eastern side of Ukraine, Donetsk, Luhansk regions, and then also up in the northeast, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv. They're trying to create an entire buffer zone around all the land they've taken, and that's their objective right now. So next up here, from Mohammed Asim, Ukraine says the Russian and Kharkiv offensive has stretched Ukrainian forces very thin and left with no reserves at all. At this point, if Russia opened a new front in the Sumy region as well, it would be impossible for Ukraine to hold the front. So this is what I'm talking about here. This is why I brought this up. There was an article here that says, facing Russian advance, a top Ukrainian general paints a bleak picture. Ukraine forces are stretched thin and have mineral reserves to draw on, the chief of the military intelligence said, in addition to shortage of weapons. So see, they're short on weapons, they're short on men. So if another front opens up in Sumy or Chernihiv region, they just don't have the capability to hold the Russians back. Okay, they're completely running out of men, and this is where I've talked about. I've put out numerous reports talking about the fact that Ukraine, if they were to not be able to hold the front line, that they would call for Western aid's help, and I mean boots on the ground. I'm talking France. Okay, France has already said that if they need help on the front line to hold the Russians back, they will send troops to Ukraine to fight against the Russians. So we are at a very close point right now where this thing could just do a complete 180, and all of a sudden Ukraine just cannot hold the line, even though they've got the supplies they need, even though they've got the weaponry. Their major problem right now is they don't have the forces. Okay, and they're short on weapons, at least at the moment. That could change here in the next few weeks. But at the moment, they're very, very short on reserves, okay? They don't have people to back up the current people on the front line. So this, just real quick as well, from Nexta, a fragment of a missile in one of the yards of Kharkiv after an enemy attack. So this is one of the missiles that came in to Kharkiv just yesterday, and this is the video footage. So let's take a look at these real quick. So as you can see, a massive missile there. It probably got shot down, I'm thinking, and maybe this is the remnants of it when it landed there, and it was like in a parking lot, I believe, or something, or in some street. It looks like it damaged that vehicle when it came falling down from the sky. So that's that video there. And then here's one more. We'll take a look at this. So just a quick 8 second clip there for you. And yeah, there it is again. This pretty massive missile. Like I said, Kharkiv came under a massive attack last night. There was at least 7 missiles that were fired, but there could have been a lot more, maybe even drones or who knows. But what was reported, as far as I know, there was at least 7 missiles that were fired on Kharkiv just yesterday. So finally, we're going to go over this from Volodymyr Zelensky, okay? It's a 4-minute video of him discussing the front line. He's going to give us some more information. But it says here, our forces continue to counter Russian attacks in the Kharkiv region. This direction has been reinforced, particularly in Vovchansk and border areas in general. Brigadier General Mikhailo Trapatyi is in charge of the direction and is currently on the ground. He is being provided with all the necessary firepower and forces. Our results are improving. We are destroying the enemy's infantry and armored vehicles. I appreciate all of our warriors who strictly adhere to orders, hold their positions, and make every effort to stabilize the situation. At the same time, we can clearly see how the enemy acts and their intent to stretch our forces thin. Clearly, we do not divert the necessary assistance and provision from Donetsk directions, particularly Kramatorsk and Pokrovsk directions. We remain vigilant in the Kupiansk direction as well. We can also see enemy activity in the Sumy and Chernihiv regions, including subversion groups and shelling. We respond properly with fire. Our task is crystal clear: to thwart Russia's attempt to expand the war. It is up to everyone in the positions from Chernihiv to Vovchansk, Kharkiv to Donetsk to fulfill it. The occupiers must not have a single safe location on Ukrainian soil and in the Ukrainian skies. I thank our warriors for downing the Russian Su-25 in the Donetsk region. Great job, 110th Mechanized Brigade Warriors. So I heard about that. Apparently, the Ukrainians did shoot down another Russian Su-25. I think that's a bomber. I could be wrong about that, but I believe the Su-25 is a bomber warplane. And this may be the first or second one in the last few days, because I heard about this a few days ago. I don't know if it was the same report, but apparently they downed another Russian Su-25. I also thank all regional authorities in border and frontline areas, as well as local communities and national police officers who ensure people's evacuation and assistance under constant Russian strikes. We must do everything possible to ensure that the occupier loses, not the Ukrainians. So we'll take a look at this video here. It's, again, about 4 minutes long. So we'll listen to Volodymyr Zelensky and see what he has to say. So let's take a look at this real quick.
Дорогі українці, українки, коротко про цей день. Перше, доповіді головкома та міністра оборони щодо ситуації на всіх напрямках, де найбільш зараз гаряче. Харківщина. Тривають наші контрударні дії. Напрямок посилено, зокрема Вовчанськ та загалом прикордонні райони. Бригадний генерал Михайло Драпатий за цей напрямок відповідає безпосередньо на місці. Йому надаються необхідні засоби ураження, необхідні сили. Зараз все більше стає наших результатів. Ми знищуємо піхоту окупанта і техніку. Дякую нашим воїнам, які чітко діють за наказами, зберігають позиції, роблять все, щоб стабілізувати ситуацію. Водночас ми розуміємо, як діє ворог, і бачимо задум на відтягування наших сил. Звичайно, Донецькі напрямки не залишаємо без необхідної підтримки, забезпечення, а саме Краматорський напрямок, Покровський. Незмінна увага Куп'янському напрямку. Ми фіксуємо також ворожу активність проти Сумщини і Чернігівщини, диверсійні групи, обстріл. Ми відповідаємо вогнем, як і належить. Наше завдання абсолютно зрозуміле – зірвати російську спробу розширити війну. Виконання цього завдання залежить буквально від кожного, хто зараз на позиціях. Від Чернігова до Вовчанська, від Харкова до Донеччини. Для окупанта не має бути жодного безпечного місця на українській землі і у нашому небі. Дякуємо сьогодні за збитий російський Су-25 на Донеччині. Хлопці зі 110-ї окремої механізованої бригади. Молодці хлопці. І також я вдячний усім представникам нашої обласної влади, прифронтових регіонах, у прикордонні та місцевим громадам, працівникам Національної поліції України, які допомагають, забезпечують евакуацію людей, підтримку в умовах постійних російських ударів. Максимум потрібно зробити, щоб саме окупант втрачав, а не ми, не українці. Друге, наша міжнародна робота була розмова з прем'єр-міністром Швеції. Я поінформував про ситуацію на фронті зараз, про російські спроби жорсткіше тиснути на Україну, обговорили деталі нового оборонного пакету від Швеції, можливості розширити нашу співпрацю. Зокрема, фінансування виробництва зброї. Цей проєкт в Україні – спільні проєкти. Швеція може суттєво допомогти, також інвестуючи в цю спільну виробничу роботу. Так само і Люксембург. В розмові з прем'єр-міністром Люксембургу сьогодні торкнулись всіх цих можливостей виробляти більше зброї. Дякую партнерам за розуміння наших потреб і наших перспектив, спільних перспектив. Звичайно, запросив обох лідерів Швеції та Люксембургу взяти участь в глобальному саміті миру, який ми готуємо на червень. Вдячний за згоду. Плюс Канада. Щойно поговорив з прем'єр-міністром Канади. Дві теми: оборонна підтримка, особливо це стосується броньованої техніки та артилерії. Працюємо щодо розширення по цьому напрямку. Ну і сьогодні Джастін, пан прем'єр-міністр, мені підтвердив участь в саміті миру. Дякую, Джастін. Завтра не менш активний день для роботи з партнерами. Це спільне завдання для української сміливості та для оперативності партнерів. Пакети допомоги, які працюють, це реалізовані, доставлені пакети, це зброя, яка у наших воїнів в руках, і забезпечуємо наші результати. Українські результати – те, що потрібно всім нам, і те, що обов'язково буде. Дякую усім, хто з Україною, слава усім, хто б'ється, хто працює заради українських результатів. Слава Україні!
Okay, so definitely lots that Volodymyr Zelensky had to say there. And I apologize for a longer video today, but there's just so much information to go over. There's even tons more I could sit here and talk about all day. But I wanted to give you the bulk of what's going on here in the Kharkiv region. But yeah, Zelensky saying a lot of things there, okay? Talking about a lot of the front line and how things are going, that it's really starting to spread, okay? This war is not just on the east of Ukraine anymore. It's starting to spread to the northeastern side as well, where Kharkiv is. And if you saw, he said there that they're observing lots of troop movement near the Sumy and also Chernihiv regions. And if that front opens up, like I said, it's really going to be difficult for Ukraine to fight this war because Russia's got a lot more troops than they do too, and a lot better weaponry. So hopefully Ukraine is going to get the weapons that they need here soon. And if they really start to run out of troops, that's the thing that probably worries me the most, is if they run out of troops and they're not able to hold the front line because they clearly just don't have enough bodies, then that's when we may see Ukraine call for help. And who knows, maybe some NATO countries might actually stand up and start sending their troops into Ukraine. So this could get really wild here very quickly now that Russia has decided to open up this second front. So we'll see how things go. I will definitely keep an eye on this story and what's going on over here in Kharkiv because it's definitely changing every single day. And as soon as I get more information, I will definitely update all of you. I want to thank you guys so much for your patience and being here today. And just a quick reminder again, I will be out of town starting tomorrow, so please be patient with me. I'll try to put out updates as soon as I possibly can, but understand I'm going to be on vacation as well, so I'm going to try to enjoy myself. But I'll try to be here as much as I can for you guys. And then, like I said, by Monday of next week on May 20th, we'll be back to normal operations and get right back at it. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.